Dare to be stupid, dare to be stupid. Hello, all. Hi. Hey, Carolyn, Gozer, Bookworm, Context, Scuzzbopper, Coyote Azul, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Good to see folks. Gozer, I'm really sorry to hear about what your OB/GYN found. I hope that things move forward in whatever the best way that they can. I hope whatever's the best next step or outcome or whatever else, I hope that's what happens. Beetlejuice? Really? Ms. Wicked Wolf? What on earth about this is giving Beetlejuice? What? All right, let's do a proper fit check on this. Excuse me. Beetlejuice. Really? Well, I'm glad to hear that, Gozer. Hello, Kern. I hope New Zealand is not as sweltering as Vermont currently is. See, that's much more the energy I'm going for, Gozer. I appreciate that. I didn't say it in a row, Ms. Wicked Wolf. It doesn't count. I hope folks are doing well today. Reminder that while I will try and keep up with the chat, the only thing that guarantees I will see your comment and respond will be a super chat, which will also get you a little heart of appreciation from me. Tis not wine, tis not the fruit of grape. Kindly try again. I had to have my first shower after top surgery. Oh, thank goodness, Stardust. Yeah, I can imagine that's it's a bit of a rough period there. I've had more than a few friends who have had top surgery, and a few more who are probably going to have it eventually. Red ale? No, ale is beer. I do not partake of beer. Tis not the result of grape nor of wheat. Any further thoughts? I don't even understand what you're asking, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Just found out about non-alcoholic spirits. Ever tried any of them? Nope. Mead. Better guess. Tis not the result of wheat, nor grape, nor honey. What are your thoughts on the fear her stuff that's going on? Oh, took me a second, Jacob. Okay. I need to like back up and yes, Connor Maynard also brought it up. Thank you for the super chat. Fear her banned in the UK. Okay, so let's back up and let's cover what it is that actually happened. So apparently, I believe at this point it is most accurate to describe it as arrested suspect in a number of stabbings in the UK appeared as wait, I'm getting it backwards. That was the other thing. No, so this was a newscaster. God, it's just too much stuff. This was a newscaster in the UK who I got to be careful with how I word this just because YouTube is really twitchy about it. Had the worst kind of imagery you can have on your computer that involves children, he had that. He was found in possession of that. And apparently, because he was a presenter, I don't even know if he visually appeared. At the very least, his voice was heard in the Doctor Who episode Fear Her in among the Olympics announcers that are as part of that story, like a side issue of that story. And so that episode has been yanked off of iPlayer. And at present, we don't know what's going to happen to it. Now, what I expect will happen is that they will re-edit it, remove that, dub in somebody else, just cut a bit or whatever, and then make it available again. Now, why it's taking so long for them to do that, I don't know. Why they couldn't do that quickly, why they felt the need to just yank the thing. If it never comes back again, that'll be absurd. Like, honestly, it already... So, here's the thing. I believe, folks from the UK, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he was actually a BBC presenter, which is highly embarrassing for them. The BBC has more than a little bit of a history of that kind of stuff coming out about people who are in its employ. So I get that, like, for them, it's kind of again, really, and any association is really damning, but for crying out loud, it's a voice. I can get squirrely about these kinds of edits, and I say that as someone who fully acknowledges the possibility that if people are aware his voice is there, and if they know who he is and know what it was, which that's a lot of ifs, but even if, they may choose not to watch that episode. I acknowledge that as a possibility. This is a what? 18-year-old episode at this point? Like, if it never goes back up, that's a massive overreaction. No, to the best of my knowledge, Coyote Azul, it's not Jimmy Savile levels bad, because Jimmy Savile was using his actual position in his work to do what he did. So, like, so far as I understand it, this is not as damning as that was, because it doesn't implicate the BBC as, failing to do anything as he was using their platform to get victims. To the best of my knowledge, that is not the case here. But it is still an association that they probably don't like. Babe or Charlotte's Web? Depends on which version of Charlotte's Web we're talking about, Ms. Wicked Wolf. But yeah, it is an overcorrection. I mean, like, I'm saying that at the point that we're at right now, which is that it's down and we don't know when we're getting it back. I expect it's going to come back with edits. Why it's taking so long, I don't know. The only thing that I can think of is that if they have to remove entire segments, it might also involve removing other stuff, and that might affect some contracted things. I don't know. There could be legal nonsense behind that. But in any case, yeah, bit of a mess. I was never going to do a video on that. It's not a subject I enjoy. I do push back at some people who are like, well, nothing of value was lost. It doesn't matter whether the episode's any good, and Fear Her is not good. Like, let's just get that out of the way. Fear Her is a very bad episode. But, like, the ability of IP holders to just take away finished works of art is something I'm going to push back on in the vast majority of cases. Just because I find that unsettling. I don't like that on premise. No, Cloak It is at least not like the Tribe of the Gum friggin' thing. Good grief. 86 U.S. medals in the Olympics. I would be impressed. I don't even know how many medals are given out in the Olympics. I've literally never paid attention to the Olympics once. I don't care. And like, I'm not looking down at people who do. Like, if you care, great. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I don't. I never have. Ugh. Bad art should be archived just as much as good art should be. Yeah, I mean, there's part of a reason that when I added in an extra note on my video on AI, generative AI being theft, pointing out that I think generative AI is going to back off because it's only ever going to produce relatively mediocre art. And then I added in a note saying not to imply that it's okay to steal mediocre art either. It's not. You still shouldn't be doing that. Did you hear Battlestar Galactica reboot has been canceled? I did hear, and I have no feelings about that because I have seen neither the original nor the previous reboot of Battlestar Galactica at time of speaking. Oh yeah, physical media. I keep checking back to see if Nimona's gotten a physical release. At the very least, they did put it on YouTube for a minute, and I did rip it. And I will say that without shame. But, yeah, I would really love a physical copy. I'll pay you. Netflix, I will pay money to own Nimona. I'm trying to give you money. Why are you not letting me do it? And put out the last 2 seasons of She-Ra for crying out loud. I'm sorry to hear about that, Mind Flame Blade. I hope your friend feels better soon. At the very least, they're putting out Arcane in physical media. Although I noticed they timed it, waiting until they could release it a little bit ahead of the second season coming out so they could psych people up that way. Yeah, I'm on to you, Netflix. Is that what it's going to take? Are you only going to put Nimona out on DVD if you do a sequel? Having Snoop commentating has made it more entertaining. I've heard that. I haven't really checked into that, but I have heard that that's an entertaining thing. I wonder if the finale of Sherlock Series 1 has been edited to remove Dear Jim. Can you fix it for me? I doubt it. I'm pretty sure that episode came out before or like after we knew that stuff. Maybe I don't have the timelines in my head. Did we not know about Jimmy Savile until after that aired? I guess I don't know what year we actually knew. I tend to think about Jimmy Savile as being something a long time ago because he'd been doing it for so long. I actually don't know when we found out. Like the public. Way too many people knew and didn't do anything, but anyways. Something that's really cool is Sylvester McCoy and Colin Baker are both voice actors in the new hold on, lost it. In the new Fallout mod, Fallout London, that's essentially a completely new game. Cool! I'm assuming it's fully 3D. I'll never play it. No, Ms. Wicked Wolf, we can't agree on that. I refuse to pick a best character from that quartet. Kyle Colgrim put Nimona at number 3 of his top 20 comic book movies. He said it was one of the most devastating pieces of animation he'd ever seen. Yeah, it's at this point, it is easily in my top 3 movies, period. Like personal favorites. Oh, yes. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for reminding me of that. Speaking of physical media, if you didn't know, Nebula is putting out hard copies of the Nebula exclusive productions that they've done. So right now that is Patrick Willems' Night of the Coconut. That is Abigail Thorne's The Prince. And that is Jessie Gender's Identities. Which means if you want my voice for all of 5 seconds in wonderful Blu-ray, you'll be able to buy it soon. I'm going to get a copy. Because that's my ego. Didn't Netflix start out as a DVD company? Does my memory deceive me? No, it absolutely did. It absolutely did. I got Netflix early into its DVD in the mail business model. I mean that's how they killed Blockbuster with the DVD in the mail, and then they got into streaming. I mean, they might have started getting into streaming before Blockbuster was totally dead, but like that didn't blow up until well after they'd killed the standard rental competition other than Redbox. My oldest kid got me into Arcane because he plays Legend. Arcane's really good. Like, I've never played League of Legends. I never will play League of Legends. It's not my preferred genre that game is. Wow, that show's so good. It is so good. Let's see. Do you collect the Doctor Who collection Blu-ray? 25 is coming out. I don't, Connor, mostly. Well, I don't for two reasons. One, the price. Not to say that I think they're overpriced. It just, I do try and restrict my spending. I can't just throw money at Blu-ray sets. The other one is that, like, I had already kind of started a Doctor Who collection on a story-by-story basis, just picking up the individual stories I really like back when they used to release them like that. Those are harder to get now, but it leaves me in a position where if I start getting full season sets, I'm possibly going to end up with a bunch of stuff I don't like that much, and B, end up with duplicates of stuff I've already got. The only thing I have the full season of is the Key to Time series. But other than that, I've bought individual serials. I'd buy them if I knew if they were able to work on UK Blu-ray players. I'll have to check to see if Jesse knows if they're going to be region locked or not. I would think that's probably got to be at least a consideration, considering that Abigail has a transatlantic audience on top of just a trans audience. My friend Toby gets them all free as he works on them. So jealous. Ooh, lucky bugger. Oh, and Connor, I meant to give you a little heart for that question. Sorry for not doing it earlier. And Supreme Omega coming in with a super chat. How come female characters who are more openly feminine gets less love than female characters who are more tomboyish and tough? Aren't both archetypes valid? In a vacuum, yes, they absolutely are. Culturally, no. Feminine is always looked down on. Things that appeal to feminine people are always looked down on. That's why Valley girls are mocked. That's why girlish things like boy bands and romance novels are discarded as disposable and treated as worthy of mockery. A big chunk of the hatred of Twilight was resting in the idea that it was really popular with teenage girls and their mothers. And hell, a huge part of the initial pushback against 50 Shades of Grey from people who never read the thing was the idea of mommy porn being both setup and punchline in and of itself. Things that are traditionally feminine are looked down on in our culture. They just frickin' are. Like, you don't have to look very hard to see that. Now, having said that, that's not actually a defense of either 50 Shades of Grey or Twilight. They're both bad. 50 Shades is actually horrifyingly bad. But, like, let's not pretend that all of the people bitching about that ever saw the movie or read the book and had the first clue of why it was actually bad. Will you be getting season 1 when it comes out? I mean, probably. Like, I don't even know how they're doing those releases at this point. What do I think of our DJ playing Doctor Doom? I did a whole video addressing that, Peter. So I did that last week. So you can check that out for my thoughts on that. Sherlock Series 1 was broadcast the year before Savile died. Ah, okay, I gotcha. Which of all the... Sorry, hang on a second. All right, I'm back. Where was I? Which of all the actors who played the Doctor would make a great number 2 in The Prisoner? Literally all of them. Yeah, literally every single one. Did I ever watch the Beetlejuice animated series? A little bit. Peter C, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate your content. Hope you're having a lovely day. It's not too bad. It's a little too warm, which is why you'll occasionally see me pat my upper lip with a paper towel because I'm sweating. It's stuffy in here. Are you planning to do more reactions to your old videos? Maybe. I need to look back through my back catalog again and see if there's anything that I think would actually be interesting for me to react to. That's one of those back burner ideas that I'll probably pull the trigger on again eventually. I don't have anything like properly planned for that though at this point. Does watching or reading Doctor Who stuff written by Gareth Roberts affect your enjoyment of said media? I actually don't know, the Muppet Don, because I have not rewatched any of the episodes that he wrote since I did my Take-Two reviews of them a couple years ago. So, I don't know. I have not tried. But, like, to be fair, I don't want to make that sound like it's targeted, like I won't watch those. I haven't, other than to pull clips for videos, I haven't rewatched very much Doctor Who since doing Take-Two reviews on things. So, you know, it's just something that hasn't really been tested. Saw all of your reviews of House of the Dragon. Thoughts on the teaser of the A Night of the Seven Kingdoms? Oh, there's a teaser? I don't even remember if I knew that. I have no thoughts. If I saw it, I don't remember it. Did they stick it on the end of the episode or something? I didn't notice. It didn't stick around. Does your motion sickness in video games extend to overhead POV like RTS games or park simulators? No, provided I can adjust the mouse sensitivity. Those aren't really my genre though, for the most part. But like strictly along the lines of motion sickness, no, those won't make me motion sick. What do you think is needed for you to connect with Davison's Fifth Doctor? At this point, a lingua, I don't know. I don't know. I think at this point, I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. I think, honestly, part of the problem I have with him is also one of the problems I have with 13, which is I don't feel a particularly strong connection to his dynamic with any of the companions. And I had that same issue with 13. Like, by default, Yaz is kind of 13's primary companion, but she never felt like it. It never felt like we properly built a really interesting or deep or meaningful connection between those two. And I kind of feel the same about 5 and literally everybody he traveled with. I guess Tegan he came the closest to, but like she was just so glad to be rid of him by the time she left. I have a hard time getting invested in a Doctor where I can't understand either why the companions are choosing to travel with that Doctor or why the Doctor's keeping them around. It seems like it's where you kind of feel the hand of the author. It's like, you two will now travel together. And it feels like both characters are going, why though? Do we have to? Like, that's what it feels like a whole bunch of the time. I can look at the other Doctors and I can find at least one, if not a couple, really strong, really wonderful connections that they had with companions. So, First Doctor, honestly, his initial trio, Ian, Barbara, Susan, fantastic. Actually, he has some good stuff with what's her name? Was it Vicky? Whoever it was in Galaxy 4. She was pretty good. Second Doctor, Jamie, obviously, nothing to it. Third Doctor, Joe, absolutely. Fourth Doctor, some people say Sarah Jane. I'd actually say the really good connection he had was with Romana. That having been said, I've really liked his connection with Leela. That's a great pair. Fifth Doctor, Sixth Doctor didn't have a good on-screen companion either, but you get to the big finish. You've got people like Evelyn Smythe, which he's fantastic with. Seventh Doctor, Ace, nothing to it. Eighth Doctor, probably Charlie. Again, you have to go to the audios for that. Ninth, Rose by default. 10th, for me, it's Donna, but you've got multiple options. 11th, it's Amy. 12th, for me, honestly, it's Bill, though for a lot of people, it's Clara. 13th, and we'll see what ends up being the case with 14, but I do think that the connection between him and Ruby was pretty well done, at least as well done as I needed it to be, to get invested in watching the two of them travel. The tomboy versus girly girl stereotype debate feels like apples and oranges to me, though. Strict gender roles were never enforced as I was growing up. More whoever can do the job. Oh yeah, like it's all nonsense, Coyote Azul. I agree, but that is still, that is still the society we live in. Do you think that Doctor Who Unleashed would be well received outside the UK, or do you think it will ever get released globally? Doctor Who Unleashed. I want to be positive that I'm thinking of what that actually is. Oh, that's the behind the scenes stuff? I don't know. I think at this point it won't do well because you need to release that kind of stuff when the thing that it's attached to gets released. That'd be like releasing Doctor Who Confidential for Series 1 now. Like, okay, why? Do you think you'd be okay with cassette beasts? Do you think lo-fi 3D environment, sprite art, fixed camera? It feels very much like playing Pokemon on a 2D Zelda map. Based off the visual design, probably. Whether or not I'd like the gameplay, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. Cloak the Librarian. That's a great name. Oh, that's terrific. I see you're getting ready to cover 2 episodes of Orphan Black. Will you be covering more episodes? I love your content, Vera. No. So for folks who don't know, I put out the end to do this month. That is a Patreon perk. And that is one of the things I'm going to try and get to this month. That's not a guaranteed thing, but that is something I'm trying to do. No, I'm not planning to do more episodes. I've actually watched the first 3 seasons and a bit before, at which point I fell off. I was only commissioned to rewatch and give a review of the first 2 episodes. That's all I intend to do. I have a lot of problems with Orphan Black. A lot of problems with Orphan Black. None of which have to do with the performances. Obviously, the lead is freaking amazing. It's practically a showcase for her. She does phenomenal. There's some good supporting parts in there. There's some good stuff, but there's some stuff that really, really irritates me about that show. And I don't know how much of it I'm going to end up going off on when I do my review of those first 2 episodes, because I don't know how much of it's actually going to come up in only those 2 episodes. But anyway, then throw in non-binary, gender fluid, genderqueer, etc. Things get interesting. I mean, I like to think so, at least. Coyote Azul, back with the super chat. Are there any retro futuristic styles you like? Steampunk, diesel punk, cassette futurism? I'm not familiar with cassette futurism. I do like steampunk overall as an aesthetic. I mean, like my own novel, it's probably best described as electropunk. So, visually it kind of has a steampunk thing going on, but, things aren't running on steam. They're running on batteries. What happened to my arm? Bruises. Bruises happen. Out all the seasons of Orphan Black, I really like the show and the characters. I'm glad, Julia. Like, I know a lot of people do. I've got real big problems with some aspects of that show, though. The reason I fell off in season 4 was, I think 3 or 4 episodes into the season, I came to the conclusion they don't have a plan. They're making this up as they go. And that was the point. I'm like, this isn't worth my time anymore. I don't know if that was true, but it's what it felt like. I watched seasons 1 through 13 of Classic Who. It made me realize that Chibnall's Who fits in with the style of a lot of Classic Who, but comparing it to RTD or Stephen Moffat makes it seem below par. I mean, you can pay homage to older style stuff while also updating. Like if Chibnall's intent, and I don't remember him ever saying it was, he might have, and I may have forgotten, but I don't think he'd ever stated his intent that it was meant to be a callback to the classic era. If it was, I think it might have been ill-advised in the way he went about it. What do you think would be the ideal format of a Doctor Who video game? Honestly, I think the Lonely Assassin game that they did is about as good as it's going to get. I think anything with the Doctor actually showing up or where you control the Doctor is just going to be a mess. I think in a lot of ways your best bet is something set in that world with the Doctor having an appearance. Although that can also go off the rails because that also gave us nonsense like Edge of Reality. Holy crap, that was so bad. That was so bad. Hopefully meeting Sylvester McCoy, Sophie already. Glasgow Comic-Con in a few weeks. Which Doctor Who actors have you met? Okay, let me see if I can remember everybody. Okay, let me think. I have met Peter Davison. And like when I say met, I mean like had my picture taken with and maybe got them to sign something. So like these aren't extended things in the vast majority of cases, but let me see if I can remember this. Peter Davison, Christopher Eccleston, Pearl Mackie, Joe Martin, Sylvester McCoy, Sasha Dewan, Mandip Gill, the actor who plays Jamie. I've lost his name. I've met him. Billy Piper. Derek Jacobi. I think. Alex Kingston. And the actress who, Fraser Hines, thank you. The actress who plays Donna's mother. I think that's everybody that I've met so far. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. I've met Tom Baker, Colin Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, because he used to drink in my local pub occasionally, Arthur Darville. Oh, lovely. Karen Gillan and Arthur Darville. I haven't met Matt Smith, Ms. Wickedwolf. Karen Gillan and Arthur Darville, that was such a blur. That happened so fast. That yeah. that one I kind of forgot. What happened to the first Doctor films of the 60s? The ones with Peter Cushing, they're still out there. You can get them. Do you think the upcoming spinoff being serialized will influence future seasons of the main show if it's well received? No. No, I don't think so. I mean, RTD's done serialization with Doctor Who before. He did it with Torchwood, Children of Earth. So it's not like, and that was very well received and rightfully so. So it's not like that's had that kind of impact before. I don't see why it would now. I'm wasting an hour before counseling. How are you tonight? I am doing okay. Discord, thank you, Carwin. Okay, so folks in the chat here on YouTube, hang on, there was a super chat I missed. Connor Maynard, back again. Have you ever watched the UK show Primeval? No, I remember seeing trailers for it. I never did watch it. Oh, hey, Meg! Good to see you. Okay. I need to hop over to the Council of Geeks Discord real quick, which, as a reminder, is a Patreon perk for $2 and above supporters. I need to check the questions that are over there, and I will be back in a minute. Let's see what we got. Since you recently said you like Of Monsters and Men, my question will be about them. Favorite song, favorite album, favorite use of one of their songs in a TV or movie soundtrack. Well, this is where I have to admit that while I do like Of Monsters and Men, I have only listened to one album of theirs. And that was from My Head is an Animal, their 2011. Now, the first song of theirs I ever heard was Little Talks. I can't remember if I heard it on the radio first or if I was just like, because I used to watch VH1 occasionally around this time, or if I went, what the hell is this music video? And I got into it and I got the album. I think my favorite song by them is Your Bones. That whole album is really good, though. And that's my favorite album by default. And I am struggling to remember any TV or movie use of their songs off the top of my head. So I have to bail on that question. Favorite Doctor's theme. 10 would be classed as the Doctor forever. 12th Doctors. Am I a Good Man? That is the best one. Can we see one of the animals? Oh, geez. Give me a second. Let me see if I can wrangle somebody for you. Hold on. Hey, yeah. Your presence was requested. Wow. An animal's presence was requested, and you were easier to get than the rats at the moment. Who do you honestly see winning the U.S. election? As someone in the U.K., we have no idea. At this moment in time, I don't have... Okay, he wants down. All right, off you go, bud. At this moment in time, I don't feel comfortable making a prediction. But the thing is, I say that with a lot more hope than I would have 3 weeks ago. Prior to Biden dropping out, there was a very distinct sense of doom that Trump was going to win because the Democrats were, well, because Biden insisted on running in a second term, which I never thought he should have done. And he was not a good candidate. And the Democrats were stuck with him because otherwise it looks like they're, it just looks like infighting. But when he voluntarily stepped away, there has been a real surge of energy. Now, to be fair, that surge of energy has put us from Trump's in a healthy lead to a dead heat, which it shouldn't be that either. But honestly, just the ground gained is a massive relief. Do I feel comfortable saying that Kamala Harris is going to win? I certainly hope so. And I think there's a hell of a lot better chance for that than there was for Biden winning. Because of the wonkiness of our electoral process, these things are harder to predict than they should be. I am hopeful, and I am lacking the sense of doom that I had a month ago. How close, for lack of a better word, does casting a POC character have to be considered racially accurate / appropriate? The other day I told you about a Stargate episode where they cast all white people on a planet of people who were supposed to be Mayans. It would have been relatively easy for the production to get native actors, but they would have been native Canadians, given where the show was made, not native Central Americans. Okay, first acknowledgement. Probably not the best person to ask, because I am blisteringly white. So not necessarily the voice you should be listening to. That having been said, it's kind of a gradation of how badly did you screw up, because it doesn't become okay if it's just like, well, this character's from a brown part of the world and we cast a brown person, and it's like this character is Arabian and you cast somebody from Central America. What are we doing here? Like, there's still a problem with that. That having been said, that is still better, at least in my mind, than casting a flat out white person and claiming that they are a race that they are clearly visibly not. And I do think in the case of something like Stargate, you get a little bit of leeway because they're stuck on TV budget and TV resources. And if it's a one-off episode, they were probably never realistically going to be able to get Mayan descendant characters. Now, one could also make the argument that because they couldn't get that, maybe they shouldn't have written that either, and they should have written something as a continuation of the native beliefs of native actors who they actually could get, given that they were filming in Canada. But that is kind of a different conversation. Ideally, you want as close as possible. Well, ideally, you want just what the character is. But, the further away you get, the worse it becomes. Where the line is, I don't know, and it's also not my place to say. What do you think of Lee's speech about everything wrong on Earth? I.e., did it come across like Banks getting on a soapbox? Okay, this is a question in regards to a book of collection of short stories by Ian M. Banks. I have a review up in the break room of Geeks. It was called The State of the Art. I thought the speech was fine. It did not come across to me like Banks getting on a soapbox for one very specific reason. He put that speech into the mouth of the single biggest dipshit in the story. Like, the guy is an idiot. He is demonstrated to be just ridiculous as a sentient entity. He is a buffoon. While I think you could argue that Banks was venting a little bit, I think that was an intentional taking the wind out of some frustration by putting it in the mouth of a character that ludicrous. What should you do if you're tasked with making a sequel to a work that had an intensely problematic thing in it? Like, should you ignore the fact that it was in the original work ever, or try to address it in some way? I never watched it, but a few years ago they did a Silence of the Lambs sequel show, and I remember wondering, how the hell do you deal with Buffalo Bill, given he's part of Clarice's origin and one of the most transphobic characters in cinema history? So there was a show just about Clarice, wasn't there? I don't know enough about that show. My general view, and I feel the same way about when it comes to actual story elements that maybe aren't problematic in that way, but just were bad plot ideas. I'm not a fan of retcons. I'm just not. Unless something was so broken that it broke things so badly that you just can't do a lot of stuff until you fix it. Barring those circumstances, which are rare, they are rare. My general attitude towards both past problematic issues and past bad story turns is ignore it. Pretend it didn't happen and move on. Like, don't try to literally erase it, but just like, we won't bring it up. It's not worth bringing up. Now, is that to say there's no good stories that could be done dealing with it? No, you can do that, but I do think you're already on the back foot because you're not telling a story to tell a story. You're telling a story to fix a problem. And it's a lot harder to make a good thing when your goal isn't starting out to tell a good story, but to fix something. So in my mind, 99 times out of 100, it's better just to ignore it and move on. How many times after watching Babe have you used the phrase, that'll do, pig, that'll do? Just for the opening gag of that review, believe it or not. Favorite pie flavor depends on my mood and the day. Today, my answer is key lime. What's your best dad joke? Be grateful to your trans friends this holiday season, because Christmas without HRT is just Sismas. Top 10 Doctor Who episodes on IMDb right now are Blink, Heaven Sent, Force of the Dead, Silence of the Library. I would lump those together as one, but whatever. Vincent and the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Girl in the Fireplace, Doomsday, The Family of Blood, and Journey's End. Are there any that you are surprised to see rated so highly? I am surprised that Girl in the Fireplace is still that high up. That seems to have become an oddly contentious one as time has gone on. Like, I still enjoy it, but it's also like the Stephen Moffat penned episode that I forget that he did. So I don't know. That one strikes me as odd that that one's that high. Like, it's still good, but really? Do you think the Rose and 10 romance would have worked well? No. Okay, let me actually finish the question. Do you think the Rose and 10 romance would have worked well if Doctor Who was an American show, given that in the US, Rose would only have just left school and reached the age of consent before running off with this strange man? So the problem with your question is threefold. The first is, I don't think that romance worked well in the first damn place. So I'm kind of scoffing at the basis of your question because your question kind of presumes that it did work well in the UK version. I don't think it did. Like, the dynamic between the characters is good enough, but I don't like the romantic aspects of it. Would it work better if it was an American show? Well, if it was an American show, my brain does that thing of it would literally be different from the ground up. So we wouldn't even be in the same situation. So I don't know how to compare a hypothetical to that because you can't just change one element and make it American. But then, like, being in a situation that draws more attention to how Rose is, yeah, probably would have made it worse. If you could put one Beatles song in the Devil's Chord, which would you choose? Hang on. I want to double check to be sure the title is what I think it is, because it's one of those songs that bleeds into the next one. I Want You, She's So Heavy. That's what I would have put in. I think that would be a really good song to put in an ominous kind of thing. When Wowbanger the Infinitely Prolonged finally gets around to W, twice in your case. Any thoughts on your preferred insults? Wow. That's a great point of reference. So, I feel the need to explain this. For folks who haven't read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, in the third book, we have the appearance of Wowbanger the Infinitely Prolonged, one of a handful of immortal beings in the universe. The problem for him is most immortal beings were born immortal, so they innately know how to deal with it. He doesn't. He wasn't born immortal, it was something that happened to him. So in an attempt to pass the time, it is his mission to travel across the galaxy and insult every single living thing to their face. And he insists on doing it in alphabetical order. And so the times that we see him, he is as far as first name starting with an A, last name starting with a D, because he has arrived at Arthur Dent. So if he ever gets around to W or V, because he does seem, well, no, he's in the D's because he's like Dent, Arthur Dent. So I guess he's in the D's. No, except he then goes and insults Arthur Philip Deodat. So I think he's going by first name, not last. So yeah, he's not very far at all. So when he hit V or possibly N, if he feels like going with my legal name, preferred insults, I don't know. I just kind of want to see what an alien who spanned the universe has up his belt. Hopefully better than what he gave to Arthur. Those were some weak insults, if I'm being honest. Sylvester or Tweety? I think Sylvester's funnier. Not that I want him to eat Tweety, but I think he's funnier. When doing the edit for the Babe review, did you know that your cold intro line would lead to pointing at the embedded film poster where the tag is a little pig goes a long way? No, that didn't occur to me. If people don't know what the opening joke of that review was, check it out. It's in the break room. I was moved by your I Saw the TV Glow review. Thank you. Do you have any thoughts on the Buffy connection? So, quick point of reference. Saturday's video is my feelings on the movie I Saw the TV Glow. It's viewable right now for patrons. It's an early access for them. There are a number of pretty overt and pretty explicit connections to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I found them very moving because it was very clear that the creator was drawing a connection not to, say, Joss Whedon, but just to, obviously that was a show that meant a lot to them at a vulnerable point in their life, and they're drawing those connections to, to build this in-universe kind of equivalent. I thought that worked very well, and the one cameo they have made me cry. So there we go. All right, I am back. I am back in the main chat thing. Yeah, I'm back on YouTube. There we go. Phil Paget, comedian. No comment or question, just money. I will take it. Make America a good boy again. It'll take more than just a cute dog to do that. What do you think Chris did wrong with Doctor Who? I think he went in with a lot of big ideas and not a lot of character ideas. I think ultimately that was his primary failing, because you look at a lot of the steps he took and a lot of the things that he put the characters through, there is very little examination of the actual impact on those characters. We don't deal with fallout. Characters don't have arcs. And like, sometimes characters don't have arc. Most of the Doctors don't have an arc, but like things don't seem to have any lasting impact. They happen and then they move on. Like that's epitomized by the Timeless Child. That revelation does nothing to meaningfully impact the Doctor. At which point I'm asking, then why did you do it? In terms of race swapping, I personally don't give a as long as it is not a historical or real world figure whose notability is something heavily associated with their race. I mean, the general rule of thumb for me is whitewashing is pretty much never okay. Race bending in other directions can be. It helps to have a point. Like, there's absolutely reasons, like for Hamilton to do the kind of casting that it does. There are other times where it's like, okay, like I guess that's a thing you did, but I also just generally don't take offense unless you've whitewashed it. Tom and Jerry or Sylvester and Tweety? Probably Sylvester and Tweety. Super props for pronouncing my name correctly. Oh, yay! Go me! Favorite season of New Who? Series 10! Are you surprised at how well your Idiot's Lantern deep dive did? Actually, not really, Mr. Zaki Boy. I knew when I made a big declarative statement, like, this is the worst Doctor Who ever, a Doctor Who episode ever, and it always will be, that was probably going to draw a few eyes. So no, I was actually not super surprised that one did pretty well by my standards. Does Jodie's Doctor get better with a better showrunner? Do you think she was a good choice? I think she's a very good actress. I don't think she was given a lot to work with. I would very much have liked her to stick around for a different showrunner. She didn't. So, you know, it is what it is. In the live episodes of the official Doctor Who podcast from SDCC, RTD said that the red fingernail hand from the giggle is not someone we've already seen, so yet another mystery box. I mean, I don't even count that one as a mystery box, because it's just going to be however they bring the master back, and it's just a callback to what he already did at the end of Series 3. Like, I don't even consider that a mystery box at this point. Do you know why they brought back the Silurians in Doctor Who? Because they want to drag on the series. Generation Productions, go in the corner, think about what you just did. May have asked this in the past, but any cartoons from your childhood that seem worse when watching them as an adult? He-Man. Thundercats, too. Like, my memory of those is a lot better than they were. Watching them now is like, You know what I think happens in a lot of those cases? Because in most of those cases, the animation done for the opening titles is higher quality than the rest of the thing. And I feel like my memory has imposed that that level of quality animation onto the episodes themselves, even though the episodes themselves absolutely do not have that. He-Man especially. Trying to watch He-Man, that original show, as an adult is rough. It's a rough time. I thought the stream started an hour from when it did. My bad. Don't worry about it. Actually, the stream setup was weird. Like, it was giving odd times for some people. If I was ever able to do another good TV adaptation of Hitchhiker's Guide, you better believe I finally cast an Asian actress as Trillian. That would be nice to see. Were or are you a Tex Avery fan? Those of Tomorrow shorts made me howl with laughter as a kid. I've only seen kind of a mix of Tex Avery. Not a ton. Thundercats was never good. Thundercats had its moments. More than He-Man did, if I'm being honest. Oh, and for the record, since nobody got it, this was not alcohol. This was unsweetened cranberry juice, which was why I had to pace myself with it, because that stuff is tart. Dharma! Thank you for re-upping the membership. I greatly appreciate it. 32 months, 0 regrets, 1,000 thanks. Much appreciated. Oh, Site 42. Hey there! Hello, Doctor. We're well familiar with your taste in sci-fi. What's your taste in horror like? Also, hi. Good to see you here. Thanks for stopping in. So my taste in horror, what I tend to say is that my preference towards horror is not actually being scared. I tend to like horror aesthetic more than I like horror narratives. I find a lot of horror narratives tend to hit on the same beats over and over and over again. And they can feel really repetitive even when they're good. That having been said, it's a big part of why I really love the work of somebody like Guillermo del Toro, because his works are drenched in horror aesthetic and visuals and the visual language of horror, but he's usually telling something else. He's doing a different kind of story with it. And I really like that more often than not. That having been said, if we're talking straight up horror, I'm going to favor supernatural over slashers. I likes me a good monster or a good ghost story. I like things like The Women in Black. I like things like the Korean movie The Host. I shot a review. I haven't put it out yet. But things like Godzilla -1, these things that put a lot of effort into the creature, when it feels like the monster or the ghost or what have you isn't just there to go buh, but like what makes that thing scary is interwoven within the very narrative being told. And this is why I have a hard time believing I will ever move from this stance. This is why the 1979 version, 79 or 78, but the 1970s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers is the best horror movie I've ever seen and the scariest movie I have ever watched. There we go. Oh, well, thank you for stopping in, Meg. I'm glad you could make it in for at least a little bit. Don't worry, Meg. I'll save you from the cranberry juice. Does it taste good? I like it, but like most people, if they drink cranberry juice, they drink cranberry juice cocktail, which is heavily sugared. Coyote Azul, back again. Thank you very much. So many of our old cartoons were blatant toy ads. Well, yeah, we can thank Reagan for that one. Like literally, he lifted the restrictions because it used to be that, you couldn't just make a piece of children's entertainment to sell a product. You weren't allowed to do that. Once that restriction was lifted, we get He-Man, we get Thundercats, we get My Little Pony, we get G.I. Joe, we get Rainbow Bright, we get all this stuff that literally only exists to buy toys. And the only thing they had to do was have a here's today's lesson moment at the end of the episode, which was why most of those shows ended with a here's what we learned today bit tacked on at the end. And knowing is half the battle. That whole nonsense. It's a few years since I watched The Idiot's Lantern. I always liked it. People said it was bad, but until I saw your review and you pointed out something no one else had. It was cathartic to go off on that one. I will not lie. You might like Late Night with the Devil. I might. It's not high on my priority list, if I'm being completely honest. Anjana Vasan from Demon 79. That's who I was thinking for Trillian. Ooh! Oh, she'd be great. Oh, dang, Rowan. Good pull. Nice. The other day, I scared my 3-year-old niece by telling them the bath was... What? By telling them the bath was when they ran... I don't... Okay, I can't make out the first part of your sentence, but I get the ending. I tried to apologize, but they couldn't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, like kids are like that. They will just forget nonsense. Do you think the Doctor Who Redacted will get a third series or ever cross over with the live action show? It'll never cross over. I don't know if it'll get a new one. Cranberry juice is good stuff. Ignore the haters. I like it. Yes, I'll do the hyping in just a minute, Carolyn. Bath too hot. Okay, I got you, 255. Yeah, kids will be like that. You'll be like, hey, you remember when I said this? And they'll be like, no. And then just go away and do something, leaving you dazed. Anyways, so stuff coming up. Tomorrow, I will be streaming on Twitch. I'll be playing more of Planet of Lana. I don't know how long that game is, so I don't know how many more times I'll be streaming it, but I will be streaming it tomorrow on Twitch at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Friday, I'll be streaming on Twitch again. If I haven't finished Planet of Lana, I'll play more of that then. If not, I'll play something else. Saturday is the new main channel video, and that is going to be on the movie I Saw the TV Glow, which is an amazing movie. That shattered me. And I really had to talk about it. So I think that's about it for what's coming up in the immediate. And, usual updates. There's some stuff up on Twitter and Instagram and the Spicy sites. Reminder, Spicy sites get daily updates. Well, the main one does. The other one doesn't, but that's because the business model is different on that one. But anyways, I can't say the name of either of those sites on this platform. Regardless, thank you very much for joining me. I hope everybody had a good time. I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good August. And please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!